All right. The president's team reported, I believe, by Mark Caputo, our friend from Axios, the president's having two massive fundraisers, getting $1 million checks. This is one of the great stories of on the political side, which is Donald Trump is not leaving anything on the table. Anyone who will write him a check, anyone who wants to get in his good graces, and as we've seen, I've told you this before, there are reports of some Fortune 500 CEOs who've come to Mar-a-Lago or the White House or both for FaceTime with the president. The public reports barely scratch the surface. There are so many CEOs traipsing through there for time with the senior aides and with the president. And I don't know how explicit they're linking those visits to check writing, but I guarantee you there's a big correlation between people who are writing checks for the library, for the super PAC, et cetera, and people who happen to also be getting visits. That's not uncommon. That happens with presidents of both parties. What's different here is most presidents, after they're elected a second time, and again, talked about this, it's unusual. It's not really a pure first term presidency because he was president already, but it's not a pure second term presidency because he was off for 4 years. And he obviously has way more momentum in terms of staff energy, in terms of planned activities and executive orders and all that. So it's not a normal first termer, not a normal second termer. And one way it's not a normal anything is most presidents in their second term stop focusing so much on raising money for themselves. And they grudgingly, because they're sick of fundraising, they grudgingly help raise money for their party, Senate, House, governor candidates, et cetera. This guy is just, again, he's squeezing every orange for every slice of every drop of juice he can get. And so I read one account says he's going to raise $500 million this year for political activity. Now they can spend that on ads to influence legislation. They can help candidates in the midterms, et cetera. One of the ways we'll be able to tell who's serious on the Democratic side about running for president in 2028, and one of the ways we can tell who might have the capacity to raise money is who's signing DNC fundraising solicitations, who's signing fundraising solicitations for candidates who are up in 2026, and who's raising money, who's in demand to come speak. Typically, you go in, do a fundraiser, and then do a political event for whoever. We'll see. I've got some thoughts on that. Not a topic for tonight, but what we do know is even as a lame duck, Donald Trump. I think it's fair to say this, and I'd say the same thing about Vance as number two. Those two guys will raise more money between now and the midterms than any Democrats will. I think that's obvious, and part of that is the offices they hold, but part of it is again they're interested in raising money. And again, I'll do this as a little bit of an aside because I'm really trying to chronicle for you how Vance is different than the previous vice presidents of the modern era with presidential aspirations, which is Bush 41, Gore, and Biden, which is all three of those guys had presidential, when they were vice president, presidential political operations who said stuff like, if you're flying to California on a political trip or a official government trip, no, you cannot meet with the president's donors, even though those people are, potential supporters of the vice president. That's not going to be true of Vance as best we can tell so far. Vance is going to be empowered because in part because the president is for him and he's been a team player, but also because Don Jr. and Tucker and others, Charlie, who are supporters of Vance, are going to be part of a political constellation that says let him raise money. So there's going to be a lot of money raised. That's that.